happy Wednesday. Ask me anything, Valerie Hunt with RunRx. And so I'm excited to see you guys every Wednesday. So here's how it goes. You send in questions and I try to give you back answers pertaining to anything running. Most likely due to injury since I'm the run pain free. So 3 great questions this week. So I'm going to talk about that this morning. The first question is, can I run if I have shin splints? So I'm going to just put that with, and we're going to talk about that. Running with an injury, what am I supposed to do? The second, which was really funny, by the way, someone said, you know, if I actually tried to do all of the drills and everything you put up, I would never run. So how do I implement the drill practice into my training? Great question. And then the third question is one that I get quite a bit, and it's just simply, we're going to talk about, basically I get, breathing and running. I think when I first start trying to run and do what you say, I'm getting winded, and I want to talk about a couple of reasons that happens. So I'll go with, the first thing first because I'm all about injuries. So if I have a running injury, do I keep running? And of course the answer should be an obvious no, right? Because and then of course we're talking about, an injury that you probably try to roll out more likely or stretch out. This is what I'm talking about. I'm beginning to get pain here in the front of my foot, or maybe in the side of my foot, or somewhere in the back, some twinge in the hip. These things that it's feedback from your body. And what the body is saying to you is, hey, you're on the ground too long. This is why we get injured in running, is simply we are spending too much time on the ground, and travel happens when we're in the air, right? Now here's the fun part, or the thought part is you're thinking about wanting to be in the air, because all of us want to get there, whether it's the finish line, the next mile marker, whatever it is, right? Our thought is to go there. So then usually what we do is that we take our body with us, or at least our leg with us. And the problem is that leaves my back foot on the ground and then puts this one right back on the ground. So I was thinking that I was getting there, but really what I did was kind of a jump and land instead of a run. So the more times I jump and land, your body's like, I'm really tired, because jumping and landing is like 3 times your body weight every time you land and jump, right? I have to push my body up, and then I have to catch it on the down, and I'm doing that on average 1,500 steps a minute for most people. And I'm always like, you should thank your body for how long it let you do that. Like how long you've been running before you got any, kind of feedback from your body. So if I can correct my movement and keep running and not add pain, then I would do that. So how do I do that? Well, this, I'll give you, of course, I have on our YouTube channel, we've got what's called the RunRx Reboot, and it's a 30-day practice, and it takes you through skill, strength, and self-care. So you get stretching, you get the practice, you get the skill drill, and as you're going through it, you're getting stronger, you're moving better, and you can start recovering, and then add volume back into your run. I would say I would go pull back on my volume, add in the skill and the strength and the self-care, and then progress powerful to push off the back leg. But the problem with pushing is then my leg went back that way and I went that way. So it's like a confusion on the body. And the problem is that if your body goes that way, this leg's gonna just come out to catch you. So then you're pushing and reaching. Every action has a consequence or another response to it. So what we want for us, for running, is we want to do the opposite of pushing. We want to keep our knees bent, and as our body falls forward using gravity, so as our body weight goes this way, we pull the foot, see? And then I'm right back in this running pose. When I do that, I'm pulling 2% of my body weight and only using 10% active muscle contraction. So instead of pushing my leg back, which is like putting a 30-pound dumbbell on the leg and then landing with 3 times my body weight, all of a sudden I just switched to free falling, pulling 2% of my body weight, 10% active muscle contraction. So then your body's like, oh man, thank you. Feels so much better. And then the more I do that in my running, then you're also not just correcting your movement, but think about it. If you were pushing and loading your calf, loading your hamstring, loading your knee, and all of a sudden it's not loaded, well, then when you finish your run, you're not going to be like, oh, my calves, you know, or whatever it was. Or, oh, my shins. My shins are usually coming from, if you push off the back, you're reaching in the front. And so any tension in the foot here, the foot coming in front of me, is going to probably lead to some of that. So the answer is all of the above. Like, I've got to do, yes, stretching. You've got to do all the ankle circles. You know, nothing a lot. Like 3 of something would be great. But most of all, if you practice what running should feel like it should be, just think that every time you go running, you're not putting all that wear and tear on the body. That's really bottom line. So I'm going to keep it nice and easy today. I'm going to just give you a little bit of a practice. But before I do that, I want to answer the 2 other questions. I got the shins. So can I run through the injury? I wouldn't run volume, but I would do running practice. So again, you can find a free whole 30-day practice in our YouTube channel. If you are having an injury, we also have a quiz on our website, runrxquiz.com, and it helps you to see maybe you are pushing, right? Maybe you are reaching and you just didn't realize it. So then what do I do instead? Well, it takes you through that. What do I do instead? You know, and I have to think about it a little bit, but once you start to think about the movement, it really gets a lot easier to move that way, if you will, all right? And then the third question is about breathing. And so I just want to say, running by itself is a cardiovascular activity. And so it should be hard to breathe. And especially if you're trying to run faster, it's going to be even harder to breathe. So one of the things that helps with breathing is, 1, to make sure you're holding the running pose. So it always goes back to the skill of running. Because breathing itself is, we all breathe, right? So it's not like you're learning to breathe. What you're learning is how to respond to your heart rate going up and basically matching your breath to your run. That's what you want to do. So like when you're talking, you've already kind of figured that out. And then as you start to run, well, 1, just as a fun, be okay with running and not talking. Because if you can run and talk, you're probably not running. You're just kind of, you know, you're out there. But I would say be okay with, you can talk, and it's okay to go out with your friends and talk sometimes, but guys, get to a point where when you're running, you're focused on running. And if you do that, you can probably have an easier time matching your breath to your run. So what I mean by that is if you're standing here, so pose itself, just let's go with the running pose. Ears, shoulders, hips. This line here has to hold. You're going to take your foot, pick any foot you want, pull it. So what is pulling? So if pushing is pressing into the ground and my leg presses back, this is pushing. Pulling is the opposite, where the knee is bent and the foot, see, pulls up from the ground. Instead of pressing or pushing into the ground, it pulls up this way. It's a completely opposite sensation. Push is pressing, it's effort, it's action. Pulling is no action. It's a simple poke and you're done. Now the hamstring right here, you've done the pulling. The hamstring does this part. The hamstring finishes the pull. So what's fun is the hamstring is the main muscle working, but you and the hamstring together do this. Then the hamstring by itself finishes. So part of the fun of learning is kind of feeling like, oh, okay, this is what pulling is, before I start trying to go running and have no idea what that even means, right? So now just stand here for a second, take your fingertips and catch your ankle. So here's your ankle bone. So now feel that. I'm pulling my foot up from the ground. You see? Pulling. And when I feel the ground, instead of pressing weight into it, I just take weight off. Where's my weight? It's on this foot that I'm standing on, right? So do the same thing on the other side. Keep that knee bent. Pull the ankle up under the hip. Now we're going to hold it here. I'm going to switch feet. The pose itself is always referred to as the figure 4, because from the hip to the ground, I'm making a 4. So just, you can check that for yourself. Now here's the challenge, just for everybody. Pulling to pose is a simple thing you can do to practice, right, to get comfortable with the movement. There's something in the middle though, and it's how you accelerate. It's how you actually initiate forward movement, and it's called free falling. It's falling, it's using gravity. Gravity acts on your center of mass. So when you're standing here in your pose, try that. Just let go, free fall, and pull, right? The pull happens after the fall. So it's always pose, fall, pull. If I try to pull all the way to pose for my whole run, I'm gonna be really winded, right? Because if you try to run like this, you are gonna be really, really tired. So for a lot of you, that's why you're so winded in the beginning, is because you're like, oh, you practice that pulling, you go out running, and okay, I'm gonna pull. Well, unless you're gonna fall, then you're just gonna get really tired, because unfortunately, I have to use all of it together. So here, let's have a little fun with that. Now here's the simplicity. You don't have to, if you're watching this later, find a wall and simply start to understand that free falling is just using gravity to allow your body to fall forward. But the simplicity of that is challenging, because you spend all of your day not falling. So to tell yourself to fall is not easy. It's easy to say it. It's not hard to practice, but you literally have to think it so it will happen. Just so keep that in mind. Simple practice, but it has to be so you can feel it, right? So if I have now my ears, shoulders, hips, lifted ankle, all in a line, I'm here. So do 3 full breaths. So you feel how you could stand sideways, not shoulders up, shoulders are relaxed, sideways. So relax in your pose. Like, this is where I'm always gonna be, hopefully, when I'm on the ground. So practice breathing in that running pose. Now, I want you to just play for one time with just allowing your body to free fall, and just pull, see what happens. So you just fall and pull. And I generally have to pull twice just because I feel the fall quite a bit. So try that one more time, switching the feet. Relax, take a big inhale, exhale, and then fall and pull, fall, pull. So then I just combined breathing practice with my fall pull. You don't never gonna breathe that deep or when you're running, but you see I'm doing things in my practice to tell myself what? Relax. So when I'm breathing, instead of being tense when I'm here, I'll be relaxed. And then to tell myself, fall. I usually look at something ahead of me, like attach something here, attach something here. You really have to go through the whole fall and pull. So then when you're running, it's a constant. Fall, gravity's always working, fall is always happening. You've got to get comfortable with, I'm pulling to keep up. It should feel like very light and quick. So we'll just to help you to feel that again, we've got plenty of things you can do. Go through the reboot, go through the quiz. Always welcome to join the membership, which is great because you get to actually, you film yourself practicing and I get to watch you. So one of the things to keep in mind is in place, we pull all the way to here. But when you're running, it's only up from the ground. So the more comfortable you guys get practicing these little movements, use a metronome. Up. Then be here. But realize, like, I'm not going anywhere. So trying to pull higher isn't going to help. Trying to pull faster isn't going to help. What's going to help? My ability to hang on and go for the free ride that's there for me. And I'm telling you, the more you practice that feeling of falling, when you run, it just becomes what you do. And then you get, again, more practice, more comfortable, and then you can do the drills for elasticity, for strength, for recovery. And the way I set it up in the reboot, you can rotate one a day. I've had several people reach out and say, I did the whole thing in one day. Okay, because it's doable that way, but I would recommend more spread it out. But honestly, if you would take just in your warm-up for your run, add one drill. add one drill. In post-run, after you run, add one strength exercise, add one stretch. Because there's not one end-all be-all, it's a combination. And if you're hurting in one area, then you can even look on our YouTube channel. We have shins, calves, all of that. The reality is the more you practice the correct movement, you'll start to feel less like I need to do, not that you don't need to do it, but you'll feel less that you need to do that because you won't be thinking, oh, my calves hurt. So you won't feel it. All right, guys, thank you. Hold on, I'm going to see if I had one more question that I missed. Okay, so they were both the same. We discussed that calf pain. By the way, if you get on, like I said, go on our YouTube channel, and we have plenty of stretches for everything. Immediate pain relief, in my mind, is always going to be if it's your feet, if it's your calves, just come on down and sit on your feet, open your ankles. This is I do every day. Curl your toes under is really good. If you can't be on your knees, flex and point, ankle circles. Keep it really simple. We have a ton of exercises. There's not one that's the best. They're all very good, but it's the one you'll do, as I say. But they're all good. Stretch, roll, do it. But the main thing is work on your movement so that you get out of that pain. So you don't have to keep stretching and rolling, okay? So get on the YouTube channel. It's got tons of exercises, takes you through how to practice, how to put it into your practice. If you're really hurting, go through the quiz, and it'll give you tips on how to, it'll have a skill, a strength, and a self-care. All right, guys, have a great week. Keep the questions coming, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.